an official star of the Wooden Boat Experience on your steel barge.
Love it.
My earliest memory is riding in my grandfather's boat, arm over the side, hand in the spray. I've spent much of the rest of my life chasing this feeling. All of that has led to this, the Wooden Boat Experience. Here's everything going in. All the stainless first. Now, all the silicone brass. I came the day before and stayed the night with Brittany and Kenny. The next day I needed to do two things: pick up a trailer, which will be modified to be used for St. Lawrence skiffs, and drop off my sewing machine for a thorough tune-up and cleaning. What could go wrong? The hard part, shoveling the trailer out by hand from Andy's backyard, turned out to be the easiest part.
This is what happens, Andy, when you're nice to people, it comes back and helps you out. Well, as you can see, that backhoe with Terry showed up and saved us a ton of time. We actually carried it over the snow there. I think the time lapse actually kicked over, so we didn't get that. But now I got to drag it out of this driveway over to there, put some new tires on, get out of here.
The tires were dry rotted and I had a long trip, so I didn't want to take a chance. Andy, who I bought the trailer from, sold me two new tires really cheap that were in his garage, but they weren't on rims. I headed to nearby Tractor Supply where I saw how much tires had gone up. Holy cow! Then I decided to look for a garage and get the tires mounted. First place I went to, they were really busy. They wanted to try to help, but they couldn't. They sent me to a second place, and they did a really good job helping me out. But when they got the tire off, turned out the inside of the rims were rusty, and they didn't think it would work without tubes, which I didn't have. Back to Tractor Supply, where I bought 2 tires on rims. I decided why not get the galvanized ones? A little bit more money, but they're not going to rust inside. Then back to Andy's, where I mounted the wheels, attached temporary lighting, which kind of worked, checked the bearings to make sure I wasn't going to have that problem. Then it was time to head back to the Thousand Islands, 3 hours away.
Okay, the adventure begins.
Now earlier in the day, before I went to Andy's, I had dropped off the sewing machine to Dr. Carl's. Come to find out, the people at Dr. Carl's were very familiar with Chippewa Bay, having spent a number of vacations right near the public launch. What a small world.
What are we doing?
Ever in doubt, take a picture.
Yep. Okay, so now what do? We pull these out of here?
So basically we're just going to check continuity, okay? Make sure that we've got power going. We do, see it?
Yep.
And then we're going to make sure it's not going to ground, and it's not. Okay, so it's good. So now we'll check the armature, okay?
So that would be between here and here?
Yes. Make sure it's not grounded. And it's open. And then we check these. There you go. Yep.
That means everything's hooked up and all those wires going this way.
Yep.
Okay.
That's all set.
So we're good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, go ahead and explain how it works.
Well, they're pretty simple. There's 2 contactors in here.
So this is a solenoid for the starter, correct?
Right.
So let's put it right here so they can...
Okay.
So here's the 2 contacts, right?
Well, there's more than that. This is your power in, okay? And this here is just a finger that acts, you know how most engines have a resistor for the coil?
Yeah.
Well, when you're in a start mode and you're turning it to crank it, you want to bypass the resistor and throw a full 12 volts to the coil.
Okay.
Okay? So what this contact does is that when this plunger picks up right here and pushes this brass contact plate, it connects the positive power coming in to this contactor, which actually puts power to the starter motor, makes the starter motor sprint.
Okay.
Okay. And when you turn the key to the start position, it activates this post right here, and this is the coil.
Okay.
That makes this thing magnetized,
Okay.
which makes the plunger come in.
And this is the heavy, this one right here, this contact is on this heavy one. This one is on the small one.
Yeah, that is the wire that goes up to the resistor, to the coil side of it.
Right,
And
okay.
throws straight 12 volts to the coil.
So this is one of the parts we're replacing. The new one is right here.
Right.
Because
And that's what was failing, according to what
Right, the starter was clicking, but not turning.
Right, which
So
means
we're replacing
it was
this with
clicking
this.
because you had power here, and you were actually activating the solenoid, and the solenoid was coming in. But when it did, you can see how burned up this is.
Yeah, the contact, half of it's gone here, so
right.
it wasn't touching.
So it wasn't spinning the starter motor.
Right.
There was no power getting the starter motor to make it turn.
So that's one thing, but we're also putting brand new brushes in because
They're worn down.
here's the new brush and there is the old brush. So as you can see, a lot of it is gone.
Yep.
Hopefully you can see that.
Yeah.
There's a
You're too
difference.
high.
There's a difference in size.
And you shared with me that it was turning slow even when it did work.
Yeah, and it's dirty and greasy and
Oh yeah, and the brushes being worn down was probably the contributor to that.
okay.
And we're also replacing the Bendix, even though we did not have a problem with the original Bendix, because we're in there.
Yes.
And for $20,
It's worth
it's a
doing.
no-brainer to do.
Wait till people try to find another one for 20.
And keep
though.
this
Right?
for a spare. Yeah, keep this for a spare. You never know when somebody might need it or you might need it.
We got a pretty good deal on this for 20 bucks, I think.
Well, the solenoid too.
Yeah.
That was $20.
Right. We got it. You know, we got
Okay.
got the parts really reasonable. Now for some cleanup and some parts.
But they don't paint these things, they rust like hell.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Where can you buy the stuff, Gary? Can you buy it at Napa?
This stuff?
Yeah.
No, I got to order this. This is stuff I get from a company that makes nothing but insulation for electrical motors. And that's where I get this stuff, along with any insulation material that I need.
And it's called spray varnish, right?
Yeah. Insulation enamel.
So this pin, there's a recess inside this thing.
Right.
And once this comes on here, it keeps that pin, which seems kind of precarious,
squeezes it, yeah.
right in place. Okay. You are on video now, so if you screw up, don't swear, Gary.
You say no, don't swear?
Yeah.
It's hard for me to do. I try my best. See it squeezing in?
Yeah. Not all the way, but. Ready? Go ahead.
So just put this down here. Right down. You can turn it. You see how it goes
It's
underneath
got to go
there?
underneath this and underneath the starter too, right? You got it?
That's why I left these loose, okay?
Because this has still got to turn to there.
Well, you gotta get these, don't worry about that, that'll move. You gotta get these started.
Yeah, this
I
side.
always start everything before I tighten anything up.
Right. Good idea.
It don't work.
So now you're hooking up the wire that would be coming from the coil, correct?
No, from the start.
From the starter.
So, there's
No.
one of these things that says S on it. All right, so two things are happening. When the coil gets excited on the solenoid,
Uh-huh.
it pulls the arm in,
Which moves that fork,
which takes the fork and pushes the bendix into the flywheel.
right?
And then as soon as it gets all the way in, the little pin on the end pushes that little contact.
Hits that
in
contact that was worn out in
place.
the other
That
one.
ties this post to the starter
Okay.
armature post.
So the one that you're touching now is for testing. The other one would be where the coil went. Am I right?
That's right. This
Okay.
is the resistor side. It bypasses the resistor on the coil.
Okay.
So when you're cranking the engine, you're getting full voltage to the coil to give it as much spark as possible.
So that other wire that you're using, the other post that you're using right now, normally is not hooked to anything.
Which post?
The one that.
That's where your ignition switch, where your start switch comes from.
Oh, okay. All right.
Actually, what I'm doing right now is turning the key.
Okay. Which is the same time the coil gets the coil going, which drives it to the other side.
Right.
Okay. So we know we're good if it does that?
Done deal.
Awesome.